All right, hang tight. Hey everyone, Rob Stanley here with the Cell Growth Podcast, and we've got a great one, a very special one actually. This is one of our unnormal ones. We usually do a Tuesday and Thursday one, so we're going to do one a little bit different this time. Today I've got Yoni Mazor from GETIDA. What's up, Yoni?
Doing great. How are you guys?
And today I also got Don Henning, co-founder of AccrueMe. He wanted to jump in on this one, and I think there's a reason why, because Yoni's had a chance to interview both Don and I. And we were both like, you know what? I think we need to turn the tables on Yoni because he does some very interesting podcast interviews. So Don wants to kind of take a little bit of the lead, and I'll, of course, jump in when I can. So Don, take it away.
All right. Yeah, you're right, Rob. I find that out of all the podcasts out there, I love Yoni and the GETIDA podcast because he digs into the personal side of things. And we learn about people as opposed to just the business. We learn about the business too, but we learn a lot about the people. So today we're going to learn about Yoni Mazor. All right, Yoni. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Israel in a town called Ra'anana. Actually, the Hebrew meaning of Ra'anana means fresh. It was started more than 100 years ago by American Jews who came to the land of Israel before it was actually a state. And created the town, and eventually it was dubbed fresh, like a fresh town, new town, Ra'anana. It's about 20 minutes north of Tel Aviv. So a lot of Anglo-Saxon influence, which led my mother, who was originally from Detroit, in the United States. She moved into Ra'anana because her uncle was there. It's kind of an Anglo-Saxon community that kind of one American or British or South African or Australian Jew kind of brings the other. Then that is the environment that I grew in. Very nice town, very relaxed, clean, good education systems. That's kind of the town, I guess, or the source, the cut that that was brought from.
How big is that town?
It's I think today maybe close to maybe scratching 100,000 people. But
Okay.
when I grew up, when I was born, there was one stoplight. There's still donkeys or horses. I don't want to make it sound like I'm from a third world country. Yeah, but I was born 1984, and in the 80s, Israel was only 40 some plus years old as a country. It was up and coming. Today is much more modern. There's stoplights everywhere. There's Microsoft has offices in Ra'anana. There's HP has offices. Became very high tech, very robust, very sophisticated, very upscale as well.
So are you serious that when you were growing up, there were donkeys and all that around? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's orchards around. It's a very humid area. It's almost like Florida. So a lot of oranges and stuff like that. And they used to use the horses and the donkeys to ride through those fields and with the little carriage and put all the oranges or whatever it is. So they were kind of around, but they still have the orchards around, but it's more sophisticated gear. They got tractors or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's cute how you can really go to the mall or go to these high tech offices, and then a few blocks away you go to the orchards and still pick the oranges and eat them. They're fresh. You should probably pay for it, but it's an interesting variety of how it all works. Yeah. I don't want to encourage theft, but if you do, just leave a dollar bill or something, or Israeli currency if you can on the tree.
There you go. What about olives? Do they have any olive trees over there?
So around that area, no, I think the olives need a bit more. I do believe, I'm not an expert on stuff like that. More mountain, more dry kind of terrain. So that's more of the Jerusalem areas. There's like mountains around it. It's more dry. It's not as humid. That's where you usually find more like olive trees and farmers who will grow those. Israel, I think, has a little bit of a scene in olives, but I think the in the Middle East at least, the ones that are more famous for the olives is Syria. I'm not sure what the situation there right now is because they have a decade of a bloody civil war, but they're kind of world famous for their olives. So as a side note.
Yeah. Very interesting. I didn't know that. That's great. You have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah. So I'm the fourth child out of 6 children. So we're 4 boys and 2 girls. Right now we are 4 of us in the United States and 2 of us are still in Israel. Yeah, That's what we got.
Wait, which one are you, Yoni? Are you the youngest in between?
I'm the number
You're
four.
number four.
I'm the sandwich.
Okay.
I always had somebody above me, somebody underneath me.
Sandwich.
I always got squeezed. Always got squeezed. So
Oh,
I guess in business, when
man.
people try to squeeze you, I felt comfortable.
That's great.
Tell us about your relationship with your siblings. Like, how is it?
It's pretty okay. So my oldest brother, he's 6 years older than me, so there was kind of a little bit of an age difference. So when I started like junior high, you already finished high school, and he drafted into the military. In Israel, everybody goes to the army. My younger brothers were only we're all 2 years apart. So we got 6 children every 2 years as a child, right? So the fourth to the first were 6 years apart. My younger brother were 2 years away, and even the youngest brother were only 4 years away. So we kind of always participated in the same schools, and I used to kind of have their backs. You know, if they ever got harassed or bullied, they knew that they have my friends in the whole.
You got to stop right there.
Yeah.
You got it. Oh, I think we lost him for a second, but he's coming back on. So, Yoni, oh, you're there. Okay, great. So tell us a specific story that nobody's heard regarding you and your siblings when you were growing up.
I'll tell you one that you probably appreciate a little bit because it deals with languages and culture differences. So, as I mentioned, my mother's from Detroit, Michigan, and we always had family here. We always had my grandparents here. And I remember this was in the 1993, I believe, something like that. We came to visit the United States, to visit our family, and we were shopping in, I think it was a Burlington store. You know, the outlet stores, it's big, you know, store, department stores. And we were running around in the cart and being, you know, wild. And my mother is screaming to us in Hebrew, die already, right? and so she mixed Hebrew, which die means enough or stop, already is in English. She's like, die already. So people like all of a sudden she didn't realize, you know, she forgot she's in America, right, in the United States. And if she does it, nobody cares. Okay, you're telling your children to stop, you know, fooling around. So people are like, ma'am, you know, they're looking at her. We know they're kind of wild, but you know, they don't take it to the extremes. Like she started to apologize. No, that means enough. She had to explain herself. So I remember that story very, very fondly and warmly. But I think at a very young age, it made me understand, you know, cultures and languages. And every time you change the scenery and environment, you got to be very conscious of that and stuff like that. That's something I remember from a very young age, and how my brothers and I were discussing it. Because for us, it was kind of strange. We were growing up in Israel, and we all spoke Hebrew, but my mother used to kind of speak to us in English. So we picked it up at a very young age. So today my English is, you know, I guess a native, almost at a native level. But yeah, that's a short and sweet, I guess, story about my siblings and I.
That's an interesting one.
So growing up, did you play any sports? What did you do as a hobby?
Yeah, so I used to play mainly soccer and basketball. So I was in a soccer team. It was called Hapoel Ra'anana. For the town, I remember I said the town was Ra'anana, so I played for the team. So I had the uniforms. I remember I used to go to kind of stadiums and play games. You know, in a league. I remember that. I did pretty well. I was mainly playing on the center field, and
your center.
Yeah, kind of center field. But also I was very offensive, so I used to score goals and stuff like that. Yeah, so mainly soccer and basketball. I was in the team. I think around 14, that's when I retired. That's it. That's when I peaked, and then my interest got involved more into the music world. I learned piano at a very young age, from third grade. So 1993 until 1999, I learned piano. 1999, I started learning guitar. That kind of introduced me more into the world of rock music, maybe Guns N' Roses, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and very quickly we started playing in events and stuff like that, and formed a band, and then created our own original music. So I always had the ability to operate on a group level, making sure that, you know, I play guitar or keyboard or also sing, stuff like that. So I learned and experienced those elements, and it was fun. Actually, sometimes it was one instance where we actually made some money. We did this whole event in a club, in a bar, and we brought everybody we know, and people came and they had drinks and stuff like that, and we got a cut from the earnings, which you never expected to get. So we made a little bit of money profit from that evening. I remember that.
That's great.
I was in high school.
So quick question for you: do you know how a musician and a park bench are different?
A musician and a what? Park bench?
A musician and a park bench. What's the difference between a musician and a park bench?
All right, go ahead.
A park bench can support a family of 4.
You're right.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, wait. Now I got a question.
Go ahead,
in
Rob.
this.
I'm gonna use that.
You get to use that exactly. Okay, Yoni, you go to a desert island. You get to bring one either album or CD. Okay, who is it? Like, what band are you bringing with, basically, that you have to listen to the whole time you're there?
Super tough. I love music
And
so much.
which album? Which album?
Yeah, it's so tough. I have so much variety that I like.
Hey, we
But
never said they were going to be easy questions, man.
yeah,
So, come on.
yeah. I guess the Guns N' Roses. I remember it. I don't know why. It reminds me of the '90s and growing up. And I think it's called the Appetite for Destruction,
Appetite
I
for
believe.
Destruction. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's just epic. It feels epic, larger than life. Almost a little bit of escapism inside of it. I don't know what it is, but yeah, a little corner of my heart. I would probably appreciate it. I like the Slash solos. He goes crazy and it's so creative. It touches me on all the right buttons, so I'll probably take that CD, that record.
That's good. Good answer. Good album too. Go ahead, Don.
What about high school? What were your favorite subjects? What were you best at? I'm gonna guess math since you're a musician. No, huh?
Nah. Yeah. So that's when it gets a little bit of elusive. So I'm gonna give props to my partner, Max. Max Bourne is my partner. He's my better half. I'm very outside facing, so kind of people know me, being kind of a face of GETIDA. But I co-founded it with my partner Max Bourne. He's the math guy.
Got it.
He's American, but he's of Russian descent. And for them, math and physics and stuff like that is they take great pride. Full disclosure: my wife is also Russian, and she's a math teacher. Okay,
Ah,
it doesn't rub on me anything in terms of math, but I'm okay with business math. If you talk to me how to make a profit, stuff like that, you got me. But anything that's theoretical or not connected to making money, it's like Chinese to me. I don't understand it. But as per your question, my favorite subjects, I think it kind of reflects on me that it's history. I love history. Like,
me too.
where is all
Me
this
too.
coming from? I think it reflects on the podcast also level, the history of things, the story, what's behind, and literature. And Bible, I like the Bible. We call it the
Interesting.
Torah, the Pentateuch,
Yeah.
the Torah. Math, I survived it. I did okay, but I did not excel, just to be frank.
So, what's
All
your
right.
favorite history book?
Oh, hold on. Before you answer that, we got to break for a quick commercial break from our sponsor, Krumi.
This content is brought to you by Krumi, the business-friendly funding solution for Amazon sellers. If you are a profitable Amazon seller looking for capital to grow your profits, click the link around this video or visit akrumi.com for a no-risk funding estimate in less than 3 minutes.
So yeah, we're back. Rob Stanley here with the Seller Growth Podcast. I got Don Henning, he's co-founder of Krumi, and I've got Yoni Mazor from GETIDA, and we're just kind of going on background of Yoni, how he got started in the sense of growing up, and how we'll eventually get into how he got into business and everything. But once again, be sure to head over to akrumi.com, and when you're filling out that 3-minute instant funding estimate for free, make sure you mention the podcast. Go ahead, Todd.
So Yoni, I love history too. And if I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read self-help. I'm going to read something historical. So out of the books I know you read, is there a history book? There's a book that you learned a lot from that, you would never throw out?
I think this one's really popular right now. It's a little bit too easy to make it because it's so trendy, but it's Sapiens. It's a very, very unique book. I think it got published just a few short years ago. It's by Yuval Noah Harari. He's a professor from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. It really takes you back into like the kind of creation of the world as he perceives it, but the way he breaks it down and touches the elements, it's very, very sharp, and it's very eye-opening, and it's kind of his version of things. So I don't know if 100% of it is we should take as the reality of things, but the way it's broken down made me feel very aware of what's going on and how we all act as humans and why. So Sapiens, yeah, and it's a major global hit. So anybody listening to this, Sapiens is easy decision. It's I have it. I read it first time last year during Passover, which is coming very soon as the Jewish holiday. I hear a lot that a lot of people kind of try to read that book maybe a few times a year or once a year or at least every few years because it kind of reconnects you to realigns you to understand how the humanity has progressed on so many levels, economically, socially, politically, all the structures that we created to that made us evolve into the modern ages. It's just kind of fascinating, at least to me, when I read it.
Sounds great. I've heard of it, but I never had anybody suggest to read it. So I'm gonna definitely pick that up. That sounds exciting.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sapiens. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. Sapiens.
All right, cool. Thank you. Rob, you want to jump in?
Yeah, we covered some of his high school. So tell everybody about where'd you go to college? We covered more of the high school stuff. Where'd you go to college?
Well, before college,
I'm sorry.
I think he did something pretty important.
Exactly. So you're interviewing. Yeah, you're interviewing an Israeli. So for us, it's after high school.
That's
It's
right.
Where'd you go to in the army? What'd you do in the army? Exactly.
Mandatory.
So I can jump into college and skip it, but I think
no, you're right. You're right. I forgot. It's a mandatory, right?
Yeah. It's mandatory.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 3 years for men. It's 2 years for women. So what I did in terms of the army was I did something that is kind of off the beaten path in Israel. What I did was, instead of just finishing high school and just joining the army and let the army kind of do what they want with you, I kind of knew that I wanted to go into the intelligence community in Israel. So what I did, I took a whole year out of high school. It was year 2003, and I just learned Arabic for the whole year. Learned Arabic heavily from the ground, from the roots up, and by doing so, I got a lot of all these tests and trials from the army until I was finally I got accepted to a special like elite intelligence unit, which was in the Navy. So we call it SNI, Special Navy Intelligence. So I dedicated a whole year of my life for that purpose and mission, basically just to get an opportunity to serve my country in a very unique unit, which is, you don't do it for the money. You essentially get paid nothing. It just, so 1 year took to serve 3 more years, just to try to fulfill my duty of, in my role to my and contribute to my country. Obviously, the region that we're in, the Middle East, is not so stable. There's a big need to have, security forces that are very, very smart, ahead of the game, and just as a side note, guys, IDF is called, it's the acronym is for Israeli Defense Force. So it's only basically army in the world that doesn't say army or anything offensive. It's only defensive. Because you see the U.S. Army, U.S. Navy. It's always any other army in the world. It never says Defense Force. Like, think about it, right? So it's called IDF, Israeli Defense Force. So first mission, defend the country, defend the reality of the country, because it was kind of born from after Second World War. There's a big Holocaust, and a lot of Jewish people got perished, and we didn't have a land or a home. So there's a big trauma that's going on that we don't want to be ever get exposed again as a nation, as a faith, where there's no protection, there's no defense. I think that was the early fundamentals that they had in mind when they created the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. So that was important to me. That was kind of the values that I was trained upon or taught upon, and I grew up, I cherished, I guess. So I took a year and I did another 3 years. I can't discuss too much about what actually happened because it involves intelligent work.
Wait. We understand there's certain things you can't, but you got to give us a story. Give us a story from when you're in the IDF that maybe other people haven't heard.
All right, so let me check. I need to reconcile. I need to reconcile 3 years over here. So the question is, what kind of story do you want? I don't know. It's a whole variety. I mean, there was a war with Lebanon in 2006. That's kind of a darker age where it was a few months before finishing, and we had a whole war develop, and there were a few ships that actually got hit. There was missiles that got shot from the shore into and hit one of the ships. A few soldiers died. I knew 2 of them. So that was kind of the dark moments. But in general, inside the army, we know it was a small unit. We're 13 guys, very tight knit. We became like brothers, band of brothers. It would never, I don't want anybody to have the wrong impression. I wasn't like on the battlefields with the guns. I was, doing intelligent work, just dealing with materials and information and how to handle the information the right way, which actually today kind of connects to what we're doing with auditing. You have a lot of information, a lot of data. What do you do with it? How do you act upon it? And how do you do it quickly and efficiently? So we were all kind of forged on the fire, because just to train to get into unit took more than a whole year. So I was sleeping with these guys. I was just living with this. The whole world was like, this family, 13 guys, being together all the time. We had our weapons with us. So your weapon is like your wife. You always have to have it on you. Always have to clean it every morning. You get inspected if it's clean or not. So if it's dusty, you get punished. It's very rigid. It's very forceful. But I was laughing throughout the whole time. I was just laughing. Why? Because I had, my team with me, my buddies with me, and the jokes and the because it's so hard and it's so rigid, and it's you constantly on the pressure. We had our amazing abilities to use humor in such a way we're just very relieving. And now looking back, I look at it fondly. But when I was there, like, let me get out of here. Let me finish with this. It's like torture. I'm like a little instrument in a big machinery. You have all that feeling, but looking back, you just miss it. Like, these guys are my brothers, my band. I guess small story for you guys. So I remember this one night where we're not really. I guess we're not supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be in the barracks, sleeping in the bed. And the big van comes in. It was a big general. All my friends disappeared. Boom, just like that. I stayed out. I simply stayed out. That van comes in. I see the general with all the ranks telling me, "What's up with your friends?" They saw me. They got scared. I told them, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what they want. What's the issue?" It's like, tell everybody tomorrow. Nobody goes home. You're gonna be all on trial. This and this and that and that. Okay. So it's funny because I went back upstairs to the barracks. They're all like shivering in their beds. I'm like, guys, why'd you all run away? So to make a long story short, everybody, we're not supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be after 10 o'clock. You're in bed, but this was already midnight or something. I stayed out because we all stayed. I stayed out and I didn't run away because nobody told us. Nobody told us. So luckily I was the first one to stand on trial. So I had my whole beret on and the whole uniform, and we got trialed. And luckily I was the first one. So I said nobody ever explained to us or told us. And not only that we were not advised to be in the barracks, other commanders were with us in those times, like after 10 p.m. They were with us out there. It's like, really, your own commanders are with you? I'm like, yeah, if they're with me, they don't tell me to go to the barracks. I'm not running away. If some general comes in and he asks me, I'll tell him the truth. That's what it is. Oh, we're sorry, Everybody got exonerated. Nobody got, so it was like, then the rest of the 12 guys that came in, they all got liberated. And so we had a happy ending with that. That's a short story about it. But we're laughing, like, how the split second, I never seen like humans run run away so quickly. So that
That's
happened.
great.
Yeah, and I never shared this, so I hope this is a little, I guess, a treat for you guys. How Army works in life and discipline.
That is the whole story was great. We appreciate
That was a great story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's get back to Robbie's question about college. Where'd you go?
Yep.
Yeah, so I went to Thomas Edison State College. It's in New Jersey. I specialized in business and accounting. I actually started because I was already in business. And I wanted to understand the economics of things. Create a balance sheet, to create a profit and loss report. So it was kind of foreign to me on a financial level, but also, I'm in America. It's I guess ultimately, accounting is all the same in America, but also in Israel. But it was very important to me. So that kind of started my journey into college and forced me to go to college. If it wasn't for that, I'm not sure I would even go, just to be frank. But anyways, I did that. I got my degree. And during college, I actually bought my books on Amazon. And that was my early dabbling into the platform because I had two ways to cash out my textbooks, right? I could either trade it in and get maybe, I don't know, for a book, let's say $20, or I can sell it on Amazon and then sell for $80 or $90, whatever it is, and earn more. So I decided to do that. I said, let me just sell it. I can, I see the buttons all around and I think I'm figuring it out. And that's my early recollection of selling products on Amazon.
That's amazing.
All right,
so
hold on.
Come to
hold on, Don. We got to break real quick for a commercial sponsor, Accrume.
All sellers are looking to grow their business. Why not take advantage of the Accrume.com Grow Now and Pay Later option? Accrume is not a bank. They truly only win when you win with growth capital funding. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Accrume.com now. Be sure to mention the podcast.
Yeah, so welcome back to the Seller Growth Podcast. I've got Don Henning from Accrume, and of course I got Yoni Mazor from GETIDA. And today we're kind of diving deep into Yoni's whole background and how he got started. And of course we will be talking about GETIDA towards the end. But I think Don was just about ready to ask a question. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah. So when did you come to the United States? Did you come for college, or did you come here for a different reason?
I did not come necessarily immediately for college. Actually, just to, I guess, spice it up a bit more and connect it back to the Army. After the Army, after my service, I actually traveled the world for 6 months. And it's
Nice.
it's cool for Americans to hear this, like, super cool. But actually, it's a big trend for Israelis after the Army to go travel the world. A lot choose the East, or they might go to India, might go to Thailand, but I actually chose South America. So I traveled South America for 6 months. I started in Colombia, and then I visited. I'm gonna go quickly through the list: Bolivia, Peru, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and Uruguay. I believe I touched them all. And for about 6 months, actually picked up Spanish along the way. I always say it, I'm going to send Spanish en la calle, and the street. I learned it in the street because I was always asking, the most important words to learn the language, I think, is how do you say something? Like, how do you say this? How do you say that? So in Spanish, it's como se dice? ¿Cómo se dice este? How do you say this? Oh, teléfono. Okay, teléfono. So I was like a sponge and absorbing. And I think because I learned Arabic for the army and it was so grueling all this time, I got used to just absorbing words. That helped me a lot later when I came to the United States because there's a pretty large, Hispanic community here. I love it. I just go out, talk to people. I can maintain and brush my Spanish all the time and pick up more and more words. So for me, it's a pleasure. But at any case, I traveled South America for 6 months, and then I kind of came to the United States, and we already had a family business, so I came to kind of help and work there. And as the business grew and we started another business together, that's when they kind of pushed me into school and actually learning and studying. So
what was the family business?
So my grandpa.
Wait. Before you answer that, how many languages do you know? I'm curious. Before we get off that subject.
Got it. So all in like around 5. All right, 5.
Wow.
I'll touch it quickly. You got Hebrew, you got English, you got Spanish, Arabic, and my wife is Russian, so I speak a child level of Russian because I hear my children speak to her and I understand what's going on. So I have like the child level Russian. So about 5.
Wow. All right, go ahead, Don. Sorry.
What
was the
ask?
question again?
So what was the family business?
Oh, the family business.
Yeah.
So in the 1950s, my grandfather, he survived the war. He's from Poland, and he had an uncle in Detroit who was working. I don't know where he was working, but he was in Detroit. And then my grandfather actually got a job with Chrysler. He was working on padding the cars and the automobiles, but he had the craft. He actually learned the craft of creating leather jackets, very, very high quality, because he actually learned the craft after the war in Germany, because he was kind of he was on the west side of Germany, the American side, right? So he learned the craft of manufacturing leather jackets in very, very good quality. So he started in the nights after working at Chrysler. He was making in the basement some jackets, and then by chance, by faith or serendipity, whatever it is, there was a song that came out that was speaking about, was singing about the whole topic of it was a bike rider that had a leather jacket with a big eagle in the back. And it happens to be that my grandfather had that kind of jacket. So overnight, my grandparents actually, overnight they got they're flush with orders, and they basically launched the business. They got a place downtown Detroit in a building. After a few years, they got the building, and then another building, and 7 buildings in downtown, Detroit City. Back in the day, maybe in the 60s, 70s, they peaked. They were one of the largest manufacturers of leather jackets in the United States. Used to sell to J.C. Penney. What do you call that? Belk in the South. I don't know if you know Belk.
No.
Marshall's Fields and all these like big department store. This is, I guess, the glamour days of the department store era in the United States.
Yeah.
So we had that. We still have it, actually. They're still in Detroit. It's still made in the U.S. We have the production there. I'm not involved in the business. My older brother and my uncle are running it. So they're still U.S. manufactured, leather jackets, mainly for unions. So if you work for Ford or General Motors, all based in Detroit, they have a union. They want to buy jackets with the logo on it, whatever. They will buy American made. They're not going to buy foreign made. So we have a production line for that. But also over the years, production went overseas. Initially was in the 80s in Korea, then it transitioned into China. But I was involved more actually on the retail side. We have an outlet store there, which as a kid, even when I was coming, in the summers to visit, I was 13, 14, 15. I used to be in the store, help, place the jackets, put them back on the rack, or help wrapping them after there's a sale. Or I used to kind of walk around the factory, see all the patterns and all the smell of leather. It was very fascinating to me. So I help with that. That's when I came after South America to help with that business.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's a great story, man. I love that. So how did you start GETIDA? Got
it. So what happened was, over the years, I was involved with the family business, and we did started we started selling online products online. We had a .com website, and then we sold on eBay. And around 2010 already, we were heavily more selling on eBay. And then 2013, Amazon, because I want to remind everybody, 2010 eBay was kind of the main scene. In 2013, Amazon was waking up. It was like really coming up there. So already that time I was selling stuff on eBay with my current partner Max. We're doing retail together on eBay, and is when Amazon was up and coming, we jumped into the fray. We jumped into the platform, and I guess you can almost say the rest is history. They sucked us in such a dramatic way. We haven't looked back ever since. The business very, very quickly grew from 0 to 20 million in annual sales. Then we became a part of a larger group that altogether as a group we did about 100 million in annual sales. And you want me to touch how I got to GETIDA, right? That's because I'm doing the fast lane into GETIDA. Yeah, okay. I'm skipping the most of the retail action and really more.
You don't have to skip. If you have a something you want to say and tell us a story, feel free.
Yeah, I can touch a lot, but I want to kind of do the outline, and then we can dive deep into either the GETIDA side or the retail side or both. But yeah, so what happened was even from the first shipment that we shipped to FBA, we were very nervous. I remember it was about 2013. It was $10,000. It was we wanted to ship our product because when we started selling on Amazon, we're selling fulfilled by merchant. We're fulfilling the orders ourselves. Then when we realized Amazon has this FBA fulfilled by Amazon option, so we said let's explore it. Let's consider opting into it. So we did. We had a big order. For us it was $10,000 was big money back then. Yep. And we're very nervous. So, it's not like today everybody's taking Amazon FBA for granted. For us, it was like, who are you? Once again, that history bug that I have. Like, I want to know your story, Amazon. I'm gonna send this to you guys, but who are you? So we looked into Amazon. We actually called them and said, hey, we're gonna ship this inventory to your warehouse. What is your policy? We're granular. Very prudent about this. Show me this. Oh, we have a reimbursement policy. Your products are insured up to 5,000 per unit. By the way, this is a side note. If you have a product on FBA which is $4,999.99 and anything happens to it, you're covered. If it's 5,000, there's one penny value, and something happened to it, you lost everything. So word of caution. Yeah, word of caution. So we learned all these elements early on. So they showed us. We said, okay, show us in writing. Where is it? So they showed us in writing. We said, okay, they have policies. They have, it's in writing. Let's ship it. So we shipped our products in there. And then lo and behold, they actually, we shipped, I think it was around 116 units, something like that. And maybe they received 113. It was like a few units missing. Okay, so we open a case. Where are the missing units? Police investigate. They're investigating it. Lost. But don't worry, we have the policy. Here's your FBM reimbursement. That was a big aha moment. Like, okay, these guys are reliable. They have a policy, but they actually stand behind what they're saying. We can probably do a lot of business with this platform. And that's what we did. Then the second shipment was bigger and bigger and bigger. And we picked up hundreds of thousands for every shipment that we're shipping in. And it grew into this major retail operation. But once the units were already inside the warehouse, actually, that wasn't the end of the story. We actually wanted to see what's going on in the warehouse. Where are the units at every single moment? Because then we discovered that inside the warehouse, the inventory tends to get lost, damaged, destroyed, disappeared, disposed, or overcharged with all these variety of fees. We discovered early on. So at the early outset, it was okay for us to handle it because it wasn't too much volume. But as the volume grew and the data grew, we couldn't use spreadsheets anymore, right? So it pushed us. I think there's a phrase that says necessity is the mother or father of invention or something.
Of invention, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so that pushed us to do two things. First thing is to develop technology that can handle all the massive amount of data that's pounding us daily. So that's the first component. The second component was to create a dedicated team just to clutch this. Just the whole purpose, just to live, right, and keep reconciling, because it turned out that we discovered internally that the discrepancy rate ranged between 1 to 3% from our annual sales. So if we're doing $1 million a year, 1 to 3% is $10,000 to $30,000. But as a group, we're doing about 100 million. That's like 1 to 3 million. So we need the technology and a dedicated team, keep pounding it. So created this solution for ourselves, for our own immediate needs. And as we did so, we shared, to a few of our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities. So they told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that was their genesis of GETIDA. That was the early creation of GETIDA. It was kind of growing organically from word of mouth, friend to friend, and for a variety of years. And then it grew organically to such a degree where we had kind of two successful businesses, and then we were conflicted. We can try to swing it and push both businesses all together, but we kind of felt that if we with retail, we kind of peaked. We know how to do a lot of things, and nobody can take away what we know. And if we ever had to go back to it, we can. It's like our diploma. But with GETIDA, with this technology and solution providing, we can probably help so many others, like tremendous amount of sellers, and present this opportunity for them, because a lot of them are not even aware that this is even going on. So we took a leap of faith. We cashed out of our retail position, but just cashing out the balance sheet. We didn't make an exit or a big fancy splashy exit. We just sold out our entire balance sheet. It was around $9 million when we cashed it out. And then once we put our full effort, focus, determination into GETIDA, our real attention, we quickly started, growing this and, taking leadership on this little, niche or industry, if you like.
Yeah.
Today I can kind of say that, we're probably the largest organization in the world dedicated solely to Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. It's not a side thing for us. Some others might be have an agency, they do this, also maybe some auditing. For us, this is where we begin. This is where we're in. Once we really focus on this one single platform or vessel, all of our might, all of our creativity and energy just really manifested itself and cultivated and culminated into to where we are today, where we're staying busy.
Yeah, you sure,
All right.
you sure are. So how did you get the name GETIDA? Where does that come from?
All right. Don't answer that yet. We got a real quick break for our sponsor. And right after we come back, we'll find out how Yoni came up with the name GETIDA, or how it became the name GETIDA. Hang tight 1 second.
This content is brought to you by AccrueMe, the business-friendly funding solution for Amazon sellers. If you are a profitable Amazon seller looking for capital to grow your profits, click the link around this video or visit accrueme.com for a no-risk funding estimate in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, so welcome back to Seller Growth Podcast. Make sure when you go over to AccrueMe to mention the podcast. We do appreciate it. And we're just about ready to find out how they came up with the name GETIDA. So, Yoni, definitely tell us how, like, who was all involved in coming up with the name? Does it have a meaning? Like, give us some depth on the name.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. It's just early on we wanted to call it Intelligent Data Analytics, or IDA. The domain was taken, so we added getida.com. But then in our tongue, it rolled into getida.com. So essentially it's an acronym. It means get idea or get intelligent data analytics. Today we consider it kind of a tribute to the world of auditing, because at the offset you see a name, but if you break down the components, you find much more meaning and purpose. That's kind of what we do as auditors. We get all this data, but once we dive into it, dismantle all the components, we find much more value and meaning, and then actually we created a lot of value for our clients with it. So that's in a nutshell the meaning of the name, the story, and the evolution of the name.
How many people? I was going to ask how many people were involved in coming up with the name, and how many other names did you have before you finally settled on GETIDA?
No, so it was I guess maybe just myself and my partner Max. It was two of us, or at the early outset. It wasn't like a big strategic thing. So we called it Intelligent Data Analytics, or just IDA. But once we had to kind of put a domain into it, it became Get IDA. That's it. That's pretty early on.
Makes sense. So I love the model. Any seller out there that's not using you, they're losing money. They're leaving money on the table. There's no question about that. But, will you take a few minutes? I don't sell anything, but if I was, what would you say to me? Why should I use GETIDA? Give me the pitch if you don't mind.
Yeah, with pleasure. So essentially, our mission is actually quite simple if you drill down into the components. Our mission for the world of our community of Amazon sellers is to make sure that they're getting the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. Either we do everything for you, or we'll do some of it for you because we're customizable. Meaning, even if you have your own team, or you're doing it yourself, or even if you're using another provider and you're happy with them, we encourage you to keep them. Not an issue. Whatever they're missing out, right? Whatever you're leaving behind, we can come in and still grab that for you. And only if we're successful doing so, only then we're going to get paid, because it's free to join GETIDA. We don't charge a subscription, no retainer. There's no contract. You can leave at any time. It's purely performance-based. We only charge a fee from the recovery, 25%. So if we were able to get you $100 back that you never had access to before, essentially money back from the dead, 25% will be $25. So it's purely performance-based. Every day we wake up in the morning, we start from zero. If we don't create the 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is, we make nothing, right? But today we're auditing billions of dollars worth of transactions every day across our network, because the mission is fulfilling itself. The seller's understanding, okay, I can let him have GETIDA, I can have GETIDA do all of it, so I can focus on growth and focus on really what moves the needles and creates a business. GETIDA are like archaeologists. We always focus on the past. We have a little toothbrushes. We're gonna keep on rubbling through the sand, and only if we're able to find a golden nugget, we're gonna present it to you, give it to you, and only then you're gonna pay us. We never had a situation where we got paid and you never got paid. So, so we actually, it's a great question asking, because the world of Amazon sellers is kind of split in the middle. Half of the sellers are not even aware that there's an issue, that they're even owed, money. They have eligibility.
Yep.
So just raising the awareness creates the opportunity. So even if they do it themselves and they review with us, we're happy, because now they're better sellers. They have access to more capital, more cash, and they can grow. But most of them, if not all of them, choose to kind of use us because they don't even know where to start or why apply resources, because this is looking back. They want to apply resources to moving forward. They need capital, right, to launch the next product launch,
Yep.
or maybe grow the team, invest more into your marketing, whatever it is. So that's kind of the first profile of the sellers. The other half of the sellers are more savvy. They understand the game. They're doing some stuff in it. They're doing it themselves. We're using another provider, which is great. Our mission to them is to explain to them that there's probably more, and we can always give you that more. So, because if you plug, your account into GETIDA, we get you more. You're happy. If you plug it to GETIDA, we never got you anything. We got you $0. It costs you $0. So that win-win kind of element and flexibility and customization is always available to any seller listening out there. So it's kind of a zero risk for them to try. It's only kind of a pure gain. And once that messaging, that awareness trickles, and they try us out, the proof is always in the pudding. It's always in the data. You always find our success in your bank account, which makes it very exhilarating for many of them to kind of join our solution. I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. GETIDA, we're not a tool, we're not a software, we're a solution. As a solution, we use software and high tech and technology, but also a dedicated team to actually service your account. So that creates a solution. So the ones who are utilize our solution are happy, but they also kind of join our community. We, beyond the money, beyond the reimbursements, we're very passionate about doing whatever we can to our sellers to help them continue growing, because if they grow, we grow. Our revenue is connected to their revenue. Small example: if our opportunity for sellers to recover 1 to 3%, and we have a seller that does $1 million a year, right? We can maybe on an annual basis recover 10 to 30,000. But if we're gonna invest education into them, right? We can sponsor an event, give them free tickets or discounted tickets, or create a podcast show where you can really learn from others how they're able to pass their challenges, and you grow from there, right? So next year, instead of doing 1 million, you're doing 2 million. Now 1 to 3% is 20 to 60,000 that we can help you recover. So once again, your growth is our growth. So beyond the money, the reimbursements, there's a dedication to education and community and creating a culture, and all bundled all together just gets creates a good vibe where you feel that you're not alone in this terrain. It's a very tough terrain. E-commerce and selling online is hyper dynamic industry. I always say this: like a day in our industry is like a year in any conventional industry. The amount of changes, things we're gonna have to adopt to, and technology is gonna have to integrate. It's so demanding. The little bit we can do to help you and alleviate some of the pain, can go a long way.
I'll tell you, as a seller, I think it would be crazy to try to do that on your own, unless you had the real scale and you could build out the technology.
Yeah, but even if we do so, we can always come with like an insurance policy. Imagine an insurance policy to your car that you only pay for it after you did an accident. Right? You did an accident, you never paid a penny for it during all these years. They tell you, what? Here's your money. We'll take a little, we'll take a little bit of our cut to backdate, as a coverage. Like, I'll take it,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It makes no sense for people not to do business with you. I think it's just a fantastic model. It's exactly what the world needs. Doing the right thing by the client. And when I do the right thing by the client, I get paid. That's the way we work. That's the way you're working. I love it. We're real big fans of GETIDA, and we're big fans of you, my friend. So
thank you.
Yeah, we truly are. So Rob, I think we should finish off, and maybe Yoni, tell us, if you don't mind, you mentioned a history book, but is there a book, a podcast, an album, whatever it is that has affected you personally that you'd like to share with everybody? Here's your time.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll touch with the podcast that I kind of like, and you probably guys know it. It's How I Built This. I don't know what it is, but it's a podcast. How I Built This is by Guy Raz. He brings really world famous brands and company creators that they tell the story how they built their companies, their amazing businesses. And what I found to be common in all of them, which is truly inspiring, is that none of them had an easy life. None of them. They all, at some point, there was pivotal moments where they had to make it or break it. And like the sky was collapsing on them. They were able to prevail, have that ability to keep marching forward, have resilience and prevail. And that gave me a lot because, like I mentioned, the hyper-dynamic industry where I'm in the e-commerce space for about 11 years now. A lot of customers are involved. I have employees involved. There's so much involved and so much at stake. I get a lot of inspiration, a lot of energies from that. A podcast, seeing how others did it, just like me, but they brought it to beautiful dimensions where it's globally cherished brands. You have Uber. You got I think I think it's the Lyft they have over there. They have Allbirds. They have just on and on, just big, beautiful brands that succeeded. Spanx from Sarah Blakely. So I like that a lot. In terms of a quick book, for business, if you guys, entrepreneurs, you want to learn about business, Straight from the Gut by Jack Welch. He used to be the legendary CEO of General Electric, GE, for 20 years, from 1980 to 2000, the year 2000. He grew from about, I believe, 20 billion in annual sales to 100 billion. So how do you take something that's already gigantic and has 100 years history, and you multiply it 5 times? And he had a brilliant strategy where he said, we're involved with all these industries. So let's make it simple. If we're not the number 1 or 2 player in the industry, we cash out. So that's what he did. He trimmed out anything that they're not really the leaders, and whatever they were the leaders, they stopped doubling down on their exposure, and boom, in 20 years, the whole business, went up 5 times. The stock was in a beautiful explosion, and they just became one of the most. They were already valuable, but really legendary. So you got a podcast, How I Built This, the book, Straight from the Gut. Hope it's useful.
Man, It is. I love them both. So
That's
Rob, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, that was some great information. So yeah, once again, everybody, thank you for listening in or watching in on the Seller Growth Podcast. And like I said, today I got Don Henning from Accrumi, obviously a co-founder and my boss, one of my bosses. And I got Yoni Mazor. Did I say that correctly? Hopefully I said that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. But Yoni Mazor from GETIDA. So, once again, we will have our standard podcast on every Tuesday and Thursday live. And Yoni, thanks again for being on the Seller Growth Podcast. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. Best of luck to everybody.
You're the best. Thank you, Yoni.